Right.
And he has done some wonderful ink sketches, drawings of train stations from around the county in the early days, and some of them are no longer in existence. So we really look forward to this. And we are videotaping this so that other people can see it also. So, Mr. Smith, if you just want to go ahead and start.
Okay. I might have to take this off to talk
That's fine.
because a dog, there was this one dog that barked all the time. He had a tennis ball in his mouth, and he barked at me, and he went, woof, woof, woof. So it might be like the same thing here. So these drawings, I've been doing drawings of not just LaPorte County, but northern Indiana, Chicago, Michigan, for about 20 years. And that's about all I can say on this. This will give you what the station looked like in a certain time, you know, like 1920, 1880, whatever. And, I'd say about 90% of them have been demolished. So I'll try and give you a brief history of the train company and city themselves. So let me get my act here, if that's possible. And what do we take off? Okay, why don't we get ready? All set?
We're good, yeah.
Start with the first one.
The first one. Oh, okay. Well, this was the Lake Erie and Western station in LaPorte, and that's what it looked like, in the 1890s, I guess. And it was on the northeast corner of LaPorte, going from Michigan City, and it was taken over by the nickel plate in 1922. So let's go to the next one. Oh, brother, this is all disorganized. All right, we'll start with Michigan City. This was the first South Shore station in Michigan City. This would have looked like around 1920, and this was on the southeast corner of Franklin and 11th Street. Later on, Mr. Inso, who took over the South Shore in 1925, named it the South Shore from the Lake Shore. Okay, let me get it right. This was the Lake Shore, Chicago Lake Shore and South Bend Railroad before 1925, and then Mr. Inso changed it to the Chicago South Shore and South Bend Railroad. Next one, please. After they abandoned that office, across the street, Mr. Inso built this station. This is what it looked like around 1930. It still stands. I think they went out of business in what, around 1970 or something? Yeah, and it still stands today, and there's been a lot of talk on what they're going to do about it, but nothing has happened. I feel sorry for the owner. He's probably filed bankruptcy a number of times. So it still stands, and I guess nobody really knows what to do with it. Okay, next one, please. This is the South Shore headquarters. This is on the east part of Michigan City. This is what it looked like in 1940. Hardly anything has changed on it. It was never a station. Okay, next one, please. This was the first railroad station in Michigan City. It was the Michigan Central. And what happened here? Oh, yeah, I don't think I'll need that. I think you can hear me clear enough.
Oh, we'll need it because they're recording.
There's two stations.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the bottom part, the bigger one, was the first.
We'll need the microphone for the recording.
Oh, okay. Would it be all right if I hold it like this?
That's perfect.
Okay. The bottom part was the first Michigan City Railroad station by the Michigan Central, built in the 1850s. This is what it looked like around 1870. The building was demolished in the 1880s, and the one above, the littler one, was the second Michigan Central station. The location was where swing villas used to be, on 2nd Street in Michigan City. The one in the upper one was I believe destroyed by a fire. And can we have the other next one, please? Okay, here we go. Well, we've seen that one. And this one was built in 1916. And it was the Michigan Central and the, I guess the Monon. And the Michigan Central was later taken over by the New York Central. The, let's see here. It was a joint ownership, Monon and New York Central, until around 1930. I think Monon went out of, didn't use it anymore as a railroad station. Okay, next one, please. This was the Chicago, South Bend, and Northern Indiana interurban station in Michigan City. This was about 2 blocks east of the one I had just shown you. The I don't know why he gave it the name Chicago, because the Chicago, South Bend, and Northern Indiana started in Michigan City and ended in Goshen. So it started in 1908 and it went out of business in the 1930s. Next one, please. This was the Pierre Marquette station in Michigan City. Let's see where Ames Field is now, in that area. The Pierre Marquette started in 1899 and was taken over by the Chesapeake and Ohio in 1929. Next one, please. This was the, well, this still stands today in LaPorte. This is the Lakeshore, Michigan Southern Station in LaPorte, and it was taken over by the New York Central. Let's see, what was it, 1915. As I say, it's a Chamber of Commerce, and it's kept up very well. A lot of these stations that still exist are pretty run down, but this one has been kept up pretty well. I assume people know where the LaPorte station is. Okay, next one, please. This was the Chicago, South Bend, and Northern Indiana interurban station in LaPorte. Oh, Michigan Street, is it? And it, as I said before, it went out of business in the 1930s. This is what it looked like, oh, I guess in the 1920s or in that era. Okay, next one, please. This is the Alida, A-L-I-D-A, just south of Westville. This was by the Baltimore and Ohio and the Monon station. When the tracks crossed each other, I guess people thought it's going to be a kind of a town getting into a good business, but it didn't go well. And this is what it looked like, oh, I don't know, 1890s, 1900, 1920. A lot of times when I give a date, it can be 20 years earlier, 20 years later. Okay, next one, please. This is the Hanna station. This was the Pennsylvania Railroad station in the 1920s. And there were little changes made in Hanna. A lot of these small towns just didn't get going. And this is what it, in the 1920s, I guess, what it looked like. Okay, next one, please. This is Haskells. Let me see, I have to look for this one. Haskells was the Grand Trunk and Monon across the street. Also, they thought this was going to get going, but it never did. This is what it looked like. Oh, in the, I guess, 1900, 1920. It was, the town itself started, well, it wasn't a town, it was like a settlement around the 1850s. But Haskells is just a little town now with a few houses here and there, and that's about it. Next one, please. This is the station in Westville, is it? Oh, Kingsbury. This was the Baltimore and Ohio and, or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Baltimore and Ohio and Kingsbury. This is what it looked like, oh, I guess around 1900. When it was destroyed, I don't know when that was. Okay, next one. This is the station in Haskells. This is the Grand Trunk and Mona station. And the, oh no, wait a minute, did I say, okay, this is LaCrosse. Let's see here. This was formerly the, okay, this was the Mona station in LaCrosse. And LaCrosse had 4 railroad stations, and they thought that was going to be a pretty good sized city. But again, like the majority, it didn't go well. It had 4 railroad stations during that time. This is what it looked around 1920. Okay, next one, please. This was the LaCrosse station that was the Pierre Marquette. And as I said before, the Pierre Marquette was taken over by the Chesapeake and Ohio. That's what it looked like in the 1920s before it was taken over in 1929. Next one, please. This is the Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago, and St. Louis station in LaCrosse. In around 1925, it was taken over by the New York Central. This would have looked like around 1905. And I believe the last one for LaCrosse is the Chesapeake and Ohio. And this is what it looked like around the 1920s. And Chesapeake and Ohio, it was kind of a funny thing about that railroad company. In 1956, the new president, he was pretty eccentric. He had a kitty cat by the name of Chessie, and he changed the name from Chesapeake and Ohio to Chessie for his kitty cat. And have you ever seen a diesel locomotive with the logo for a shadowy figure with the cat licking its paw? That was the Chessie. Okay, next one, please. This is Magee. It was the Pierre Marquette and Wabash. Let's see, was that right on that? Yeah, it was, again, I went out there, and it was a very isolated area. I don't know why they had a railroad station so big. Again, there were 2 railroad right-of-ways going parallel or crossing each other, so they thought that was going to be a pretty sizable town, but it didn't go well at all. And that's what it looked like in around 1920 or so. Okay, next one, we have Mill Creek. Mill Creek is the Grand Trunk station, and nothing much there. Let's see, Mill Creek, no, nothing. I don't have anything on Mill Creek. That's what it looked like around whoops, back please. Mill Creek, well, what it looked like, I guess around 1920. One of these were demolished, I'm really not sure. Next one, please. This is New Durham. I don't know if anybody heard of Pinola. Between LaPorte and Westville, in that area. And this is what it looked like around 1930. It was the New York Central. And let's see here. Nothing on there. New Durham. And it I think it was the Lakeshore, Michigan Southern, and then it was taken over by the New York Central. Okay, next one, please. This is Otis. Otis is south of Wanatah, or Westville, and this is what it looked like around 1910, I guess. Actually, Otis in the late 1800s looked like it was going to become a town. They had 4 bars, and they had a church, and a couple of grocery stores. But again, it just didn't go well. Otis today is just a lot of houses and a church, and that's it. Next one, please. This is Pinola. Pinola was the New York Central and the Monon. No, wait a minute. Okay, Pinola was the New York Central only, and what it looked like in the 1920s. Next one, please. Rolling Prairie. This was the Lakeshore, Michigan Southern station around 1900. and again taken over by New York Central in 1915. I think it lasted until 1960, if I'm not, no, it can't be that long because cars and airplanes took over everything. And when it was demolished, I don't know. Next one, please. This was the Chicago South Bend in northern Indiana at Rolling Prairie. This was like, oh, I guess about 1915, 1925, somewhere around there. And I gave you the brief history of the Chicago South Bend in northern Indiana. Next one, please. This is South Wanatah along the Monon. Just, of course, just south of Wanatah. This one it looked like, oh, I don't know, 1910, but no longer in service. It's been demolished. Next one, please. This is Stillwell. Stillwell was Grand Trunk and the Nickel Plate. Around, I guess, about 1920 or so. But again, like all the other stations, as I said, areas I said before, they become little communities or little hick towns, whatever you want to call it. Okay, next one, please. Here we have the first Baltimore and Ohio station at Union City. It looks quite attractive during its time. It was around the 1880s, 1890. They tore that down and made the next one. No, next one, please. Oh, no. Oh, boy. No, well, the second one, Union Station, what was the Union Center station will come sooner or later. Here we have Wanatah, and this is the Monon Station at Wanatah, and that's what it looked like around 1900. Okay, next one, please. Wanatah. And this is the second, this is the other station at Wanatah. Wanatah had two stations. This was the Pittsburgh Fort Wayne in Chicago, which was later taken over by the Pennsylvania Railroad. This is what it looked like around 1905. Let's see, nothing on Wanatah here as far as the history goes. Okay, next one, please. This is the one at Westville. This was the Wabash at Westville. Westville had two railroad stations. This is what the Wabash looked like around 1910. Next one, please. And this one was the Monon at Westville. Again, this was around 1900. None of these stations exist today. Next one, please. This is Wilder's, about as far south as you can go in LaPorte County. Wilder's had, let's see here. They don't have it here, do they? Okay, this was the Erie station at Wilder's. This is what it looked like, oh, around 1900, 1910. Wilder's at one time had 4 railroad companies cross into it. They thought this was going to be a big town, but it didn't go at all. You go down there, there's just a few houses, and that's about it. Next one, please. Oh, okay, this is the last one. I don't know how this got in here. This snuck in. This is Wheeler's. I mean, this is Wheeler in Porter County. Somebody, well, I guess I'll take the blame for it. I think that's the end of the stations. Could we try next one? Yep, that's it. Well, things were not that organized. I take most of the blame for it. But I hope you enjoyed the show despite its disorganization. And that will be it.
Any entertain some questions or comments?
Yes, I was just going to say, any questions?
Well, it was amazing that there were that many railroad stations.
Well, they had about 40 or 42 or something like that.
And railroad companies, train companies also, just
Right.
so many.
Mm-hmm. And the first, well, I guess the first railroad was in the 1850s, and one was Michigan City, and then everybody got on the bandwagon and started making one railroad station after another. But the only railroad stations that exist today is, well, I don't, oh yeah, the ones in what they call shops in Michigan City, and that's about it, and for the South Shore. So there isn't anything else to really talk about on LaPorte County, except some of the cities. Let's see here. Give you a little history on the towns. Hartsdale started in 1855, incorporated in 1911, and first was the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis, which was called the Panhandle at the time. Haskells started in the 1850s. Kingsbury was founded as early as 1835. Let's see here. LaPorte was founded in the 1830s. New Durham, 1854. Otis, as I said before, they thought that was going to be a big town, was first named Salem. In 1859, it was crossed by the Michigan Southern Railroad, which later merged with the Lakeshore Michigan Southern. In 1870, it was called LaCrosse, and then they had a post office, 3 taverns, and grocery stores, as I indicated. Kingsbury was founded in 1835, became incorporated in 1941. Willsboro, they didn't show Willsboro on here, did they? Willsboro was founded in 1875, and Magee, well, it was never developed. In fact, the reason Magee overtook Union Mills is because there were 2 railroads right-of-ways crossing each other, the Pierre Marquette and the Baltimore and Ohio. The Grand Trunk came in later, so it was a 3-way crossing, but the town never got going. Union Mills got going, but Union Mills never had a passenger station. It had a big freight station. So people that were going to Union Mills, I don't know how they got there. And that's about it on the LaPorte County, and I thank everybody for coming to and see this show.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Give a big hand.